So one sunny afternoon, I was in a classroom with a group of teenagers, teaching them about consent and teaching them about sex. And after one of my very spirited demonstrations of a condom on a banana, a teenage boy reluctantly put up his hand and he asked me, "But miss, what if I do it wrong?" "Do what wrong?" I asked. And he said, "Well, sex. Like, what if I get the next move wrong?" "Yeah," another boy chimed in. "Like, what if you make a mistake? Are you even allowed to laugh about it?" My name is Sabrina Baldini, and I am a sex educator and coach and very, very accidental TikToker. I did not do that on purpose, and podcast host. And I have been teaching sex education for around a decade. And in those years, I have always observed that there are really two kinds of questions that you will get about sex. One is, what is my body doing? And the other one is, am I normal? So one is cerebral and one is physical, and that's really what sex is. It's this activity that requires you to engage with your body and your mind. It became very clear to me when I was talking to those young men and women in that classroom that they saw sex as a very highly choreographed set of activities. It's very structured, very routine. First you kiss, then you moan, then you roll, switch positions. She's freaking out the whole time, like that, literally. And they saw sex as this place where people didn't even talk to each other, and they could just read each other's minds. Where would they get an idea like that from? Maybe you're asking yourself, where does anybody get that idea from? From porn, from movies, from TV shows, from music videos. If people still watch that anymore, I'm not sure. And I know, unlike most porn directors and movie directors, that in real life, people talk. They talk to each other, and at times, yes, they even laugh. Sex is a lot of things. It is tense, and it's awkward, and it's fun, and it's exciting. But the most important thing to remember about sex always is that it be pleasurable in the way that you define it. So now, we haven't always had the privilege, especially women and queer folks, of defining sex on our own terms. We must thank our feminist ancestors and foremothers and progressives and allies for fighting the good fight to get us to have sexual agency and to be able to define our own sex lives. Together, they created two sexual revolutions in modern history, the first of which is seen here. So the first sexual revolution took place in the 1920s. This coincides with the flapper era. So, excuse me, women are fighting for rights, they're fighting for independence, and they're winning. So with this newfound independence is coming a shaking up of sexual behaviors. Feminists of the era are talking about the joy and the value of controlling your pregnancies, something that women have never been able or allowed to do ever. And the second wave of the revolution is seen here. My favorite one, the hippies. Around the 60s, 70s, this is led by the free love movement. Around this time, we see the emergence of gay rights. We see widespread access to the birth control pill and the legalization of abortion, which is like closer to the 70s. So now, if you are doing the math, then you would have realized that these two revolutions are around 40 years apart. So if you're counting, you would have also realized that that means that we're due. We're actually long overdue for a third sexual revolution. I'm ready. And all my research and all my work and all the studying I've done is telling me it's here. It's coming. We're primed. And we are heading straight into our third sexual revolution. So now, what will that be? Are we going to be having sex with robots? Maybe. I think some people are, and that's fine. No shade, no judgment. This is a safe place. But that's not the revolution I'm talking about. Before I get into the third one, I want to talk about the second revolution a little bit, the hippie one. The free love movement taught us that we were free to love however and whomever on our own terms. So sex was no longer a shame-based activity. We were allowed to engage in it in a way that felt right for us. And this allowed for a permissiveness around certain kinds of sex. And while that is lovely and amazing and beautiful, and I love that, it also ushered in this era of the heavy commercialization of sex and the commodification of it. So sex was used to sell basically everything, anything, and we kind of got hit with an inundation of like hypersexuality. And our definitions of what sex and even sexy is not being created by us, realistically. It's coming from marketing departments, it's coming from movie studios, porn studios. sex becomes actually much more rigid and structuralized, a very choreographed set of activities done by perfectly sculpted, beautiful Ken and Barbie doll looking bodies, women pumped full of silicone, trimmed labias, barely legal, men like jacked on steroids, hung to their knees, hopped up on Viagra. This becomes like our kind of image of sex, and it dominates our culture for some time. And now we are seeing the backlash against that. We are seeing the rise of puritanical policies and the policing of our sexualities. Across nations, we're seeing widespread access to abortion be reversed. This has led to a crisis in maternal mortality rates. It's led to rises in intimate partner violence against women and girls. And it's led to a lack of access to vital reproductive care. But in the midst of all of this, I am seeing something positive, and I am seeing something hopeful, and I am seeing something uniting. I swear to God, it's coming, that is giving me hope. A backlash against the commodification and commercialization of sex, a backlash against the rigidity, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the rise of, is it coming? Romance! Okay, so the third wave of the sexual revolution will be a romantic one. So now, the third wave of the sexual revolution will be one that is guided by authentic intimacy. So our authentic intimacy, or what I will refer to as romance, is a connection between two partners. When you are vulnerable and you're feeling your most vulnerable, it's when you want someone deeply and they want you back, because that is the best feeling in the world. So how? So now, how do I know that romance is making a comeback? Because it is in the data. Okay, this is my Roman Empire. I'm freaking out. Okay, so now, in an age when porn and sex and hookups and everything is so easily at our fingertips, everything's just like a swipe away. What we're seeing is that people are desiring more authentic looking interactions, more exclusivity. So intimate interactions with each other in real life. We're also seeing a swing away from the plastic and the perfection to the novelty of normalcy. So now, if we look at Pornhub.com, Pornhub is an adult entertainment website. I'm going to pretend you guys don't know what it is. Okay. It's an adult entertainment. It's actually the world's leading adult entertainment website, 16th most popular website on the planet. And if we look at the data, it is telling us something interesting. So, before I click through, in 2021, so this is the height of the pandemic, okay? Let's not forget that actually happened to us. We were locked away from each other, hadn't seen each other in ages. In 2021, the number 2 most searched term on Pornhub was romance. So under this umbrella, we see romance, bromance, passionate. I think friends with benefits is up there as well. Now, now in 2022, we see reality. Takes the number 1 spot with gender or transgender climbs significantly in the last several years, and that takes the number 2 spot. In 2023, mature takes the top spot with an honorable mention to therapist. Because I don't know, you guys, do you think people are depressed these days? Do you think more people are in therapy? All right. And finally, in 2024, last year, we have at the number 1 spot, demure desires. So we've got, isn't it nice? We've got mindful joy, passionate sex, authentic sex, respectful sex. Wow, I'm very impressed. And ethical porn jumps up by about 92%. Ethical porn is generally favored by women. We'll talk about that later. The number 2 spot last year, wife. And she's busy. She's been very busy. Amateur wife, threesome wife, cuckold wife. If you guys don't know what any of those terms are, it's fine. You come see me after class. I will explain it to you. But wife is getting around, and that's fine. She can. No shade, no judgment. And in number 3, we have coworker sex. So workplace fantasy and office crushes are jumping up in search term. I don't know, you guys, you think people are back in the office? Perhaps they are. So what does this mean? This means that while we exist right now in this current political climate, and everything may feel very divided, I know I'm feeling it. I think a lot of people are feeling it, particularly between men and women, that we're very different. This is telling me that we have so much more in common than we do different. So now, we have to talk about something very serious. MILFs. MILFs. These rascals. They are everywhere, okay? And MILFs, these lovable little scames. Okay, MILFs are really important because they're really popular with women, but they're also very popular with men. So MILF has been cracking the top 5 for men for several years. And the reason I'm bringing her up, because I love her, is that she breaks age brackets for men. So 18 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 plus, all these men are looking at MILFs. So what is this telling us? It's telling me that A, there are young men out there that idealize, fantasize, eroticize, and romanticize interactions with older women, find older women attractive. A sexually mature woman is very attractive and exciting. And it tells me that B, there are entire groups of men out there that as they're aging, their tastes and who they're finding attractive are aging with them. And this is something we're not typically told about male sexuality very much. It's almost like their attractions are kind of frozen in time. But this could perhaps be signaling a shift away from the constant sexualization of youth that we've all grown so accustomed to, and the fetishization of purity, and the fetishization of innocence and lack of life experience. But really wanting to connect with somebody that's sexually mature. Maybe somebody that knows what they're doing, or maybe even somebody that can take care of you, like a therapist. Sex is healing, everyone. So in tandem with this really big rise in ethical porn we're seeing for women, in tandem with this, we're seeing this big rise in amateur for men. Amateur has remained consistently popular with men for years. So what does this mean? Again, to me, this means that men and women, yet again, are saying the same things. We're just saying it differently. We need a translator. We need to start listening to each other, I think now more than ever. These top search results are screaming the same thing to me. We are all looking for something real. We're looking for something that we can connect with, and we're looking for something that's authentic. So what is authenticity? It's genuineness, it's reliability, and it's faithfulness. And all of these things are so romantic. We are so starved for human connection that we are romanticizing our everyday lives. We're romanticizing our therapists. We're romanticizing our coworkers. We're romanticizing our neighbors and our friends, because that is where romance lives. Not on our screens, but in the everyday of human connection. And I'm seeing this in my work as well. As a sex educator and coach, I come across hundreds of people all the time. And I am seeing a real shift in people's desires, and not just like with what they want in a partner, but like what they want with themselves. A longing for something more authentic with themselves. So when I teach and when I work, I often use this, the Kinsey scale, as a teaching aid. So this was developed by Alfred Kinsey in the 1940s, and it gauges a person's orientation based on their attractions and their experiences. So this scale asserts that orientation is not black and white, it's not gay and straight, but rather it lives on the spectrum. So 0 is actually exclusively heterosexual, and 6 is exclusively homosexual, with 1 to 5 living somewhere in the gray. So now for a moment, suppose you're looking at this and you're like, 0? I think I'm a 0. So let's just say that for argument's sake. You're a 0, you're a straighty. Is that what people call themselves? Okay, never mind. You're straight. I think I'm a 0. I think I'm straight. But then you catch yourself watching lesbian porn, or you catch yourself watching gay porn, or you catch yourself dabbling in trans porn, as we've seen is so popular the last several years. Not very 0 stuff. That will put you somewhere in the 1 to 5. You've got some flexibility. You can play around with your content. It's a little bit more nuanced. So now once clients and people see this, they can begin to understand that sexuality is not prescriptive, but rather it's something that's created by them. So now, if this lives on the spectrum, how about this one? Masculinity is something I'm hearing a lot about. It's all over my feeds. It's all over social media. And I think the podcast bros might be lying to us, you guys. I think perhaps maybe there is no war on masculinity. It's just nuanced, and it's richer, and it's more complicated than they can understand. No two men are alike, and they don't have to be. Perhaps they are just a bunch of 0s, or a bunch of wannabe 0s, trying desperately to cram themselves into the 0, whatever they believe that to be. desperately policing the men around them that don't comply or don't care to comply. If there was a right way to be a man, you wouldn't constantly have to tell men how to do that. You wouldn't constantly have to remind them. Most of my clients are men, by the way, so I am like intimately aware of the complexities of masculinity and sexuality. Tradition has taught us that we're all zeros. But the truth is that traditionally, we've just been crammed into the zero. We haven't been given another option. But the porn that we consume and the fantasies that we have and the questions that we ask our therapists and our friends and the communities that we build with and for each other strongly, strongly support that we are much more than zeros. We are so much richer than that. Earlier, I spoke about the young men in that classroom that asked me, "What if you don't know the next move, miss? And can you even laugh?" And my answer to them was, there is no right next move. Nobody knows what they're doing unless of course, you're asking. And there is no script to follow. And yes, of course, you can laugh. As a matter of fact, I highly, highly recommend that, and I encourage laughter. Laughter means that you're being silly, and you're being vulnerable, and you're being playful. And that's what sex is, a place for you to do that. And when you realize that, sex becomes what it's supposed to be, which is an expression of your own unique humanity. I imparted with them the most important lesson of all in sex education. You are the author of your own script. You get to decide what you do with your body and what kinds of sex and intimacy you want. The third wave of the revolution will be led by students just like him, people that question the status quo and look for nuance in life. Because the most human thing that we can do in this life is question ourselves and look for ourselves in this world and really struggle to find it and wonder where we fit in. And the third wave of the sexual revolution will be led by people that have ever done exactly that have ever dared to ask themselves, am I normal? And finally, I'll leave you with this. To be true to yourself and to be authentic, well, that is the sexiest and most romantic revolution of all. Thank you.